seconds. Thank you, Pam, for sending me the link.
Sure, you're welcome.
How are we doing for quorum, Pam, now that I'm here?
Looking pretty good. We're still waiting on, it looks like, Commissioner Bukowski, Sparks, Voorhees, and Wooden.
Okay,
But we have a quorum.
great.
Oh, I see Commissioner Sparks is on.
Perfect.
Just waiting on a few yet.
Well, I said we have another minute. Wayman, are you ready?
Ready to go? Yes, ma'am.
All right. Today is Tuesday, November 17th. It is 8:30 a.m. Welcome to the Finance and Physical Resources Committee via Zoom. Wayman, would you please read the notice regarding electronic participation?
Sure will. Pursuant to statute 15.263A1A, the Finance and Physical Resources Committee of the Kent County Board of Commissioners will conduct this meeting today via electronic communications to protect the public health. Any member of the public wishing to listen to the proceedings or provide public comment may do so by using the internet connection or phone numbers and passcodes which are listed on the agenda. Closed captioning is available via an internet connection. Those wishing to provide input or ask questions in advance of the meeting regarding business to come before the committee may submit the input or questions to publiccomment@kentcountymi.gov. Anyone disrupting the meeting by using offensive language or actions will be removed from the meeting.
Thank you, Wayman. So with that, I will go to agenda item number 1, which is public comment. See if we have any public comment this morning.
Yes. Nancy Nielsen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You have the floor, Nancy.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Diane. Good morning, folks. My name is Nancy Nielsen. I live at 14130 Keller Avenue Northeast. It's the Cedar Springs postal address and in Spencer Township. I am here as the chair of the Kent County Senior Millage Review Committee, and it probably is no secret that I am here to, my interest is in your agenda item, which would approve the recommendations of my committee for $12,181,407 in program funding for senior services for 2021, as well as another $593,993 in administration to the Area Agency on Aging of Western Michigan, local nonprofit, which has administered the millage since it was first passed in 1998, for a total of $12,755,400. This is an annual visit that I have always enjoyed. I would like to share the very highlights of the year and some of what we can look forward to. The highlight of this past year, pre-pandemic, thank goodness, was that after doing business for over 20 years now, it occurred to us that it would be wise to step back and take a look at how we do business with an eye to potentially improving it. So we had a series of guided meetings in early winter, including AAA staff, that my committee members, and representatives of our partner agencies for a strategic planning process. We had guided discussions over the course of 7 different sessions, and I'm pleased to report that we had just excellent participation, particularly from our partner agencies. They really appreciated being included in the process and made an enormous contribution. Some of the recommendations that came from this process are long-term, will take a while to implement, but others we were able to put into effect right away when we did our annual October process. Whereas by the time October rolled around, we were full bore into the pandemic. And like you folks, we had to make a lot of adjustments in how we did our business. We had literally almost a full-time equivalent week of meetings with our providers in which we review their past performance, discuss their funding proposals for 2021. And in the process, we learned of the many, many ways that our partners cooperated with each other to make adjustments and deliver services during the pandemic when many folks had to stay home, offices were closed, and services were curtailed. This was all done virtually, of course. During the meetings, we had 100% attendance and participation, which just tells me again how seriously my committee takes the responsibility to serve the public, the taxpayers. $12 million is not exactly chump change, and we are very mindful of that fact. Of the 9 of us on the committee, 5, like myself, are retired and theoretically have all kinds of time in the world. But the other 4 members of the committee are county folks, 3 of your fellow commissioners and a county staff person. And so we know they have day jobs to do as well, and they went above and beyond during this process in October.
Nancy, I'm afraid you are out of time. We get 3 minutes for public comment. Do you want to take a quick second or two to wrap up?
Yep, the only thing I wanted to say in addition is when you do get down to that item on the agenda, there are staff from the AAA Area Agency on Aging that are here with me that will be able to help answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you so much, Nancy. All right, do we have any other public comment? Pam?
Yes, I was just checking the inbox and there are no messages in there and there are no other hands raised in the chat.
Okay. So with that, we will close public comment and we will go to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Moved by Brevi.
Support by Wooten.
Hey, moved and supported. Questions, comments, or discussion on the consent agenda? Okay, seeing none. Pam, would you please take a roll call vote to pass the consent agenda?
Sure. Commissioner Antor,
Yes.
Commissioner Brevi,
Yes.
Commissioner Bulkowski,
Yes.
Commissioner Morgan,
Yes.
Commissioner Sparks, Commissioner Sparks, Commissioner Voorhees, Commissioner Voorhees, Commissioner Womack,
Yes.
Commissioner Wooden,
Yes.
Commissioner Sparks, Chair Jones.
Yes.
That motion passes.
Thank you. That brings us to item number 3 from the Administrator's Office, distribution of coronavirus relief funds to the Salvation Army. Wayman, would you please review the action request item?
Sure. This is a request to the board to approve a distribution from the Federal Coronavirus Relief Fund received from the U.S. Department of Treasury for the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act to the Salvation Army for eviction prevention programming in the amount of $2 million. The Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act established the Coronavirus Relief Fund and appropriated $150 billion to fund the states and local governments. The CARES Act provides financial aid to families, governments, and businesses impacted by the coronavirus disease, COVID-19. The county allocated $2 million in CARES funds to provide assistance to individuals in Kent County who need housing or eviction diversion assistance as a result of the COVID-19 public health emergency. The Michigan State Housing Development Authority used CARES funding Michigan received to establish the eviction diversion program and allocated approximately $2.8 million to prevention evictions in Kent County. The county desires to supplement the amount of rental assistance available under the eviction diversion program so that the program can assist more Kent County residents and desires to engage Salvation Army to oversee the administration of these grants. The Board of Commissioners required that any expenditure of the CARES Act funds for which the county is responsible, that is in excess of $1 million, be approved by the Board of Commissioners. This action is an activity related to COVID-19.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
Moved by Wooden.
Support by Brevi.
Okay, moved and supported, and we'll take questions, comments, and discussion. Commissioner Wooden?
Thank you, Chair. This time I remember to move and not support it first. I had a quick question. Seeing that the CDC orders have put a delay on evictions until the end of this year, and these funds need to be at least either spent or appropriated by the end of the year. By appropriating these dollars with this resolution, will this satisfy the Treasury Department's requirement and essentially mean that when evictions finally can begin, thus being a prerequisite to the eviction diversion program, will the dollars no longer be available? Will we be able to make sure that these dollars will be available next year when evictions actually can commence based on the CDC order?
Let's have Linda Howell or Matt Nelson, if they're on the line, to respond to that, please.
Good morning. The CDC moratorium limits people from actually getting the last step of the eviction where somebody has actually moved out. It doesn't mean that these files aren't starting already. And so we're actively working on those files right now, in essence, to prevent that very last step from happening.
Perfect. Thank you. That answers all my questions.
Okay.
Yeah, well, actually, if I can follow up, does that mean we do have to spend all this entire sum by the end of this year, or by appropriating it, we'll be able to roll over into next year?
The guidance that came out of Treasury in DC does not yet have any type of extension on it. So we're working actively. I know KCCA has a different pot of money, and they're working actively to try and get these issues resolved now so that we don't have to debate whether that money can be used in January. Because if folks are having problems right now, we're trying to help them right now.
Perfect. That makes sense. Thank you.
Hey, anyone else? All right, seeing none, Pam, would you please call the roll?
Sure. Commissioner Antor,
Yes.
Commissioner Brevi,
Yes.
Commissioner Bukowski,
Yes.
Commissioner Morgan,
Yes.
Commissioner Sparks.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you. Commissioner Voorhees, Commissioner Womack,
Yes.
Commissioner Wooden,
Yes.
Chair Jones,
Yes.
and that motion passes.
Thank you. That will bring us to item number 4 from the Administrator's Office, the senior millage allocations for 2021. Wayman, would you please cover the action request?
Yes, this is a request to allocate $12.1 million in senior millage funds for 2020-21 as recommended by the Area Agency on Aging of Western Michigan to approve the agreement for administration of senior millage services with AAA West Michigan and to authorize the board chair or designate to execute the agreement. AAA West Michigan holds contracts with 33 agencies to provide services with funding from Kent County Senior Millage. Under the terms of the contracts, the funding level is evaluated annually based on new program proposals, current year operations, and available funding. In mid-October 2020, the Kent County Senior Millage Review Committee evaluated 2021 funding requests and made recommendations regarding funding for each service. These recommendations were forwarded to the AAA West Michigan Executive Committee on October 26, 2020, which is now recommending them to the county for approval. The county proposes to enter into an agreement with AAA West Michigan to serve as the senior millage administrative entity for development, coordination, implementation, administration of service delivery system for millage funded programs for senior citizens. The Area Agency on Aging of West Michigan would receive $573,900 for administration of the millage. Assistant Corporate Counsel will review and approve the senior millage administrative service agreement as to form.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve by Sparks.
Thank you. Is there support?
Support by Brevi.
Thank you. We will take questions, comments, and discussion. Commissioner Wooden.
Thank you, Chair. Briefly, I apologize. I tried to pull our previous minutes because I think I asked this previously and it was resolved. Last year when we approved this, I disclosed that Senior Neighbors is a commercial tenant of dwelling place. And since that does not impact my own personal salary, it's in a different department of the entity. I believe there wasn't a conflict of interest at that time, but I just wanted to disclose that in this context and see if that means I should recuse myself from this vote. So yeah, Senior Neighbors, they are a commercial tenant of dwelling place, but I do not personally work with them, nor does this grant dollars, I think, any part of their lease. So I don't see it impacting my role, but I'm more than willing to recuse myself on this if that is required or if that is prudent.
Linda, are you there? Can you speak?
I am. Commissioner, I appreciate the disclosure, but the fact that it does not, or you're not able to financially benefit from this directly, I believe that you're eligible to vote under our rules. But thank you very much for the disclosure.
Perfect. Thank you.
Hey. We do have anyone else? Usually.
Commissioner Bukowski has his hand
There
raised.
we go. Thanks, Commissioner Bolkowski.
Yeah, just real briefly, I do have a conflict related to my employment at Disability Advocates, as we're listed as a partner agency. So I will be abstaining.
Thank you. Well, I know that we have folks from the area on aging here. Is there an opportunity, Wayman, for them to make
Sure.
some comments on this?
Yeah, I think it would be great, Madam Chair. They've done a great job putting this plan together, and we'd love to hear how they're doing and what they think about the future of this program.
I can speak for a second. Good morning, everyone. I'm Ann Ellermitz. I'm the Director of Contract Services and Program Development at the Area Agency on Aging, and we are really happy to be part of this meeting today as you consider the recommendations from our Board of Directors and from the Review Committee. As Nancy Nielsen mentioned, we definitely had to make changes this year with the pandemic and how we went about our process, but the process went really well. The committee is outstanding with their very thorough review and 100% participation. The partners have really just knocked themselves out these last several months, continuing to serve older adults, even while their businesses may have been shut down or they've had to go about things differently. You know, way back in March, we actually added a new service, COVID-19 Senior Support, that allowed the partners to take their current services and extend some of their service definitions so they could continue to serve older adults by bringing things to their house, running errands for them, providing wellness checks. So the partners really have worked so collaboratively together on this, and services have continued. We know we are still in this. We're still evaluating the types of services that we're providing to our older adults, still working really hard to help the older adults and their family caregivers who are struggling, and trying to provide services to help their family members out. But we just plug ahead, and we will keep at it during these tough winter months ahead. But please know that these dollars are being spent very well. The partners are doing a great job, and we're very proud of them.
Thank you, Ann. I just want to add that in my experience, the Area Agency on Aging has really been a model for how to do this process correctly. And we've even mentioned the process that you have to other millages that have happened since. And it really is a great benchmark for doing this really fiscally responsible with a lot of focus, a lot of effort, a lot of participation from the board members and others. It's just and I've been on that committee, as you know, and it's a really good process for allocation. So well done. All right. Is there anyone else that has any questions or comments? Okay, Pam, would you please call the roll?
Sure. Commissioner Antor,
Yes.
Commissioner Breve,
Yes.
Commissioner Bukowski,
Abstain.
Commissioner Morgan,
Yes.
Commissioner Sparks,
Yes.
Commissioner Voorhees, Commissioner Womack,
Yes.
Commissioner Wooden,
Yes.
Chair Jones.
Yes.
That motion passes.
Thank you. That will bring us to item number 5 from the Bureau of Equalization, the 2020 amended appropriation report. Wayman, would you please read the action request?
Sure. This is a request of the Board of Commissioners to approve the amended 2020 apportionment report. General property tax law, as amended, outlines the responsibility of the Board of Commissioners with respect to the annual apportionment report. At its meeting on October 22nd, 2020, the Board of Commissioners approved the 2020 apportionment report. On November 3rd, 2020, Alpine Township voters approved a 3.0208 fire protection services millage, which requires the apportionment report to be amended. Attached to the 2020 apportionment report as amended and prepared by the Bureau of Equalization.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
Moved by Breve.
Support by Sparks.
Okay, moved and supported, and we will take questions and comments and discussion. Commissioner Antor.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I just wanted to thank Matt and his entire staff for this again. You go through this and it's pretty amazing. It's a lot of math and it's just always a pleasure working with Matt in his office, because this is probably one of the most important things we do every year, and the reporting is always concise and never too many questions for anybody, which is a good sign. So I appreciate all his efforts.
Thank you. No other hands? Pam, would you please call the roll?
Sure. Commissioner Antor,
Yes.
Commissioner Breve,
Yes.
Commissioner Bukowski,
Yes.
Commissioner Morgan,
Yes.
Commissioner Sparks,
Yes.
Commissioner Voorhees, Commissioner Womack,
Yes.
Commissioner Wooden,
Yes.
Chair Jones.
Yes.
That motion passes.
Thank you. That brings us to item number 6 from the Sheriff's Office, Secondary Road Supplementary Grant Award Appropriation. Wayman, would you please read the action request?
Sure. This is a request to the Board of Commissioners to accept a secondary roads supplemental appropriation grant award to appropriate $81,600 from the State of Michigan Office of Highway Safety Planning to the 2020-21 Sheriff's Special Project Fund budget, and to authorize the board chair or designee to execute the grant agreement, approve extensions, amendments, and increases to the grant appropriation not to exceed 15% of the original award. The Sheriff's Office annually receives a grant award from the State of Michigan's Office of Highway Safety to fund the operations of secondary roads program. This program enables 2 to 3 deputies to focus on patrol and traffic violations on secondary roads, and also to investigate crashes. The Office of Highway Safety Planning under the Secondary Roads Program has issued an initial grant award in the amount of $239,100, which was approved by Resolution 9/2091 and is already incorporated into the 2020-21 budget. Subsequently, the state legislators and the governor authorized an additional $2 million in funding for this program, of which Kent County's allocated portion is $81,600. The Sheriff's Office plans to utilize the supplemental funds to cover existing personnel and operation expenditures. The supplemental amount of $81,600 needs to be approved and appropriated by the board. The total grant award is $320,769. The grant period is October 1, 2020, September 30th, 2021. Prior to signature, Corporate Counsel will review and approve the documents as to form.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
Moved by Brevy.
Thank you. Is there support?
Support by Sparks.
And thank you. And questions, comments, and discussion. Commissioner Antor.
Thank you, Chair. Is the sheriff here to answer questions on this?
Yes, I'm here.
Good morning, Sheriff. I was just curious about one thing. Could you describe, well, yeah, let's start with this. Can you describe exactly what a secondary road is as far as qualification for that?
So that would be anything other than the M roads, the expressways, the state roads that would be in the community.
Okay. And then at the very top, it says this program enables 2 to 3 deputies to focus on patrol and traffic violations on secondary roads and also to investigate crashes. Investigating crashes, that's going to occur regardless, right? I mean, or is there a different focus under this? Are they going to investigate differently somehow, or is it?
Yeah, so like specifically in Kent County, typically we have a unit that is made up of a supervisor and 2 deputies. Their major focus is on the fatal accident investigation within the community. So normally somebody else would do the initial accident investigation. If somebody has died and it is not the at fault or the perceived at fault driver, then we would pull in the 416 group to do a full scene makeup, and obviously to facilitate our own need to perhaps consider charges and recommend charges to the prosecutor, but also for the civil consequences that happen following a crash. So that's what primarily our 416 officers do. They also do what we would call selective patrol. And that would be a neighborhood is having a particular issue in their neighborhood with an intersection or speeders. They would work to proactively work those areas. We usually will determine those areas based on high accident intersections or particularly hazardous roadways. And this grant for us this year is about $112,000 less in total, even with this supplemental, than what we had last year, because the funds that are used to give the resources to this program statewide are revenues from traffic tickets. And those are overall declining in Michigan, but real specifically this year have been, I say 2020 for us, but this is, this is a fiscal year for the state, so it's off a little bit, but they're substantially down this year because of proactive patrolling not being feasible for many months out of this year.
Okay, great. Yeah, over the years, I've just noticed that it seems like we have more fatal accidents now off the beaten path, especially these rural intersections. And I think it could be attributed mostly to cell phone use, people blowing through. You just see a lot of fatals out here. And I do have another question for I can ask you offline. It's regarding this, but appreciate all your work.
Thank you.
Hey, anyone else? Okay, seeing no other hands, Pam, would you please call the roll?
Sure. Commissioner Antor,
Yes.
Commissioner Brevy,
Yes.
Commissioner Bukowski,
Yes.
Commissioner Morgan,
Yes.
Commissioner Sparks,
Yes.
Commissioner Voorhees, Commissioner Womack,
Yes.
Commissioner Wooden,
Yes.
Chair Jones.
Yes.
That motion passes.
Thank you. That brings us to item number 7 on the agenda from the Sheriff/Circuit Court Family Division Inmate Health Care Contract. Wayman, would you please cover the action request?
Yes, this is a request to accept and award the proposal for inmate and juvenile detention healthcare services submitted by Vital Core Health Strategies LLC pursuant to the terms of the county's fiscal policy and procedures for open market goods and services, $50,000 and over, subject to final contract negotiations and finalization of the agreement, and to authorize the sheriff and board chair or her designee to execute the necessary documents. The sheriff's office determined it was in the county's best interest to publish an RFP for inmate and juvenile detention healthcare services. The purchasing division issued RFP 3915 and received 7 proposals. The purchasing division, working with the sheriff's office and juvenile detention, reviewed the proposals and recommends Vital Core Health Strategies LLC for the award based on the contents of its proposal for comprehensive inmate juvenile detention healthcare services, but subject to negotiations to finalize the terms of a contract. Healthcare services are to be provided to the correctional facility inmates and detainees at juvenile detention. Services will include, but are not limited to, physician, nursing, psychiatric and dental care, pharmacy, x-ray, hospitalization, blood draws, mental health, dialysis, TB testing, and liability insurance. The sheriff and the board chair or her designee will execute the agreement after corporate counsel has reviewed and approved the contract as to form. This is not an activity related to COVID-19.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
Moved by Brevi.
Support by Wooden.
Okay, moved and supported, and we'll take questions, comments, and discussion. Commissioner Wooden.
Thank you, Chair. In reading over the packet, I saw the multiple bidders that had submitted. Could Cal or the sheriff, whomever would be best, summarize what was the weighting criteria? Was it mostly cost, or was it experience in juvenile inmate healthcare services? Just without going into too much detail, could you provide a little more of what led this bidder to be chosen over the others, and that process?
Madam Chair, I think Cal is on the line. So Cal Brinks, are you there?
I am, and good morning, commissioners. The answer to that is the overall is the quality of service. Certainly cost is a consideration. This is incredibly important that we provide quality healthcare services to the inmate. And so that is definitely a contributing factor, along with cost, ability to staff the contract, all high areas that we review.
And if I can have a quick follow up on that, what would how was quality of service measured then? Is it on their, have they been a past contractor with us so we know that, or is it did we ask for, was it a reference situation or was it certifications? Just a little bit more on that front.
Okay, sure. We went through a very lengthy review process and due diligence as far as the evaluation committee. We did multiple interviews with the provider. In addition, we went through extensive reference checks and review of their performance at other facilities of similar scope.
Perfect, thank you.
Hey, anyone else? Commissioner Bukowski.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just to be clear, a couple quick questions, Wayman, or for the sheriff, or maybe Cal. This is a 3-year contract for $20.5 million.
That's correct. It's a 3-year contract beginning January 1st, 2021.
Okay.
The dollar amount is over the course of the 3-year contract, correct?
All right. And what is our current costs, kind of ballpark? Is this a significant increase, decrease?
No, and part of the evaluation, the current compared to our current is about a 2% increase. However, I want to point out that this is heavy weighted on FTEs or employees. And so it's not exactly an apples to apples on FTEs. And so it's approximately 2% just straight in cost.
If I could add to that, there is a reduction in overall FTE with this contract, but we believe that it's managed well within the contract plan. And keep in mind, healthcare costs typically grow at a much higher rate than 2% annually. So with this being a 2% cost increase compared to our last contract, that's a pretty substantial reduction of what we maybe feared.
Thank you. And then last, and maybe it's a question for further down the road or whatever, but just anytime there's incentives in healthcare, small red flags, large red flags go up because incentives are easy that the payer just doesn't authorize service and yay, we hit our budget targets. That might be cynical, but it might be real. I don't know if there's like, are the incentives based on a utilization rate or quality or?
I don't know who's going to answer that, but I'll tell you, Commissioner, my name's at the top of every lawsuit that gets filed, and I can assure you that appropriate healthcare is our #1 mission. I'll come to you and ask for more money if we exceed our necessary amount of money for quality healthcare, or we'll have to take cuts elsewhere, but we do not let that determine the healthcare that somebody receives when they're in our care.
All right, thank you.
If I could jump in, we're looking at the indemnification language and the responsibility language very, very clearly to follow up on the sheriff's point, because the obligation for good quality healthcare is on the vendor. And obviously we get pulled into any situation where there's a dispute about whether that service was provided. So you can rest assured that that particular area of the contract is being very heavily scrutinized.
Thank you.
Hey, I don't see any other hands. Pam, would you please call the roll?
Sure. Commissioner Antor,
Yes.
Commissioner Brevi,
Yes.
Commissioner Bukowski,
Yes.
Commissioner Morgan,
Yes.
Commissioner Sparks,
Yes.
Commissioner Voorhees, Commissioner Womack,
Yes.
Commissioner Wooden,
Yes.
Chair Jones.
Yes.
That motion passes.
Thank you. That will bring us to Commissioner Miscellaneous this morning. Do we have any Commissioner Miscellaneous? All right, seeing none, we will move for adjournment. Our next meeting date is Tuesday, December 1st at 8:30 a.m. See everybody via Zoom then. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.